I'm trying to put down onto the drawing only what's essential. I realized that I needed to get the very big idea down first. The most important thing was the composition and the great big shapes and forms. And you have to get those down as clearly and immediately as possible and establish the architecture of the drawing. I'm here in the deck of my gallery at Perkins Cove in Ogunquit, Maine. And behind me is my subject, the entrance to the cove and the white drawbridge, looking down toward the Charles Woodbury studio. I like the way the bridge is silhouetted by all the packed, the houses behind, all stacked. The drawing is a point of departure, and as I work, the image evolves. The formal terminology would be reduction woodcut and lino cut, or one might refer to it as a waste block method, where all the colors are being printed on a single block and the block is being reduced. Every tool is, in essence, a kind of an idea. The tool itself is an idea, and I incorporate the ideas holding that tool onto the block, cutting. I took my drawing and I took this paper image and I glued it to the piece of plywood. So what I'll be doing is I'll be cutting through the paper into the wood. Everything that you see that's cut will end up being white in the print. Ever since junior high school, I was making lino cuts, and I loved the medium, and it came quite naturally. And also I liked even then the mystery of carving into the linoleum, inking the block, and peeling the paper off the block to see what you actually did. And what you did while you were carving it is always very different than what it looks like when you peel it from the block. And I like that. I printed my first color, which was a light blue. So the entire block turned light blue except where I cut areas for the white to remain. The block talks back to you. The print tells you things, and you have to recognize them or identify them. So you're almost collaborating with the medium itself. And this is kind of mystery between you and it. We have a record right now of what the block looked like after the first color was applied and the whites were cut. Then I inked the block up a warm gold color and then printed the gold over the blue. And now I'm going to cut away every part of the block where I want this window color to show. The way I do the reduction woodcut, I layer many ideas. And the idea of layering is very similar to the idea of layering sounds for an orchestra. This is a Finnish composer, Levi Meditoja. This is his first symphony. We can listen to it while we're printing. Then what I did is I mixed a snowy soft gray and printed it over the top of the tan. So you can see the predominant color now is the light blue-gray. What I felt at this point is that the print needed a little bit of a beautiful uplift coloristically. I needed a little bit more color in the print because it was getting very snowy but very neutral. So what I did is I took and I cut all the gray areas and printed an additional color, which this is a trial proof. There's an uneasy balance because sometimes the states work better than others, and the print might be going really well, and then all of a sudden you have a bad day and then you have to backtrack. So, there's a continuation of having to strive for an excellence. Something which I haven't or don't usually do. What I did is I took the present template to this print, what it looks like when you print it with the cutout areas, and I printed it on top of another piece of plywood. So what I'll do with this plywood is I would like the moon to be a beautiful orangey lemon yellow in the water, and on the face of some of the clouds, and then the tops of the roof of the snow, and maybe on the bridge, which means that I'm going to have to cut almost all of this block away, except for I want residual pieces of wood to reflect the moonlight. I want to try to get a sprinkling kind of effect of this lemon yellow on top of that print. So when I ink this block up, I will take this piece of paper, put it on these pins, put it down on top of this block inked up, and when I pull it up, all the lemon yellow will be in the parts of the print that I want it to be in. I would not consider myself a realist. What I do is I take a subject that I'm fond of, and I respect its imagery, use it a great deal, it's important to me, but for me, in the end, the image is an organization of color, line, shapes, forms, design. This last darker gray color will be printed over all the previous colors and supply me with really my darker linear part of the print. See all the colors, what happens? You can read them all of a sudden you can read all the true colors of what you put down because there's a dark to contrast them all. See that? And it's not so important that everything that you do turns out as you would have hoped. But what you try in the end is to make more things work in your favor than less. So, you know, perfection is not an issue for me. There is no such thing. All I try to do is the very best I can, and then move on from there.